I want you to know, despite what you see, despite what you feel, despite what you know, you're here for a good reason. And it doesn't mean that all of life is good, but you're here through a good purpose. Genius is when you're obsessed with impossible. And when you look at impossible, that's when you become fearless. It all started a speaking career out of a janitor who worked at my high school. I was 17 years old. And I just got voted onto the student government body. And he said, "You got voted on the government body." I said, "Yes." He said, "You're going to be a speaker." He said, "You're crazy." I said, "What am I going to speak about?" He said, "Your story." I said, "I don't have a story." He was the one who organized my first speech. Understanding that when you do go through change, to believe something you don't see, to not panic. When an entrepreneur and a visionary like us are going through something and then we're stopped in our tracks, one of the biggest debilitating mental things is numbness. And then numbness goes to like from shock to then wait a second, maybe it's also panic after that. It's like, what just happened? Wait a second, this is bigger than me. And it takes time to then get counsel when you go through change and adversity. Get advice from people where you want to go, get coaching from them. And like you said, many of us though never recuperate it because that pressure of failing and the pressure of never having that success that I did have, the way that I term it is an attitude shift that failure is my classroom and it's part of the journey and evolving to your full potential. What I've learned is I'm not the only one going through something, and I'm never telling anyone that I'm going through something worse than anybody. I tell teenagers all the time, I believe it's worse being in a broken home than having no arms and legs. And so someone who's gone through a broken home, I can't encourage them as much as someone who has come on the other side and say, I know how that feels. Me, like a limbless boy, that's the beautiful thing. I've met another limbless boy. I've met 30 people. Now he knows that if Uncle Nick can do it, then I can do it. Take one day at a time, be thankful, do your best. Reframe the attitude for you on a daily basis. Don't be debilitated by panic. See what you know, learn what you don't know, and take a step forward. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. Sometimes you're in intrapreneurship, 9 to 5, every day. I'm just gonna be the best person I can be at what I have. That's fantastic. If though there is a dream to then do a side hustle, go into real estate, do this, do that, I would say go for it, as long as first of all, your priorities are right. If you're not really conversing, if you're not really connecting, I think us human beings were created to connect. Life is never better alone. Number 2, going after your biggest dreams. My dreams of being married and having kids done. But really now when you have a wife, I'm looking, okay, I'm like, okay, what's my next venture? I want her to bless the idea. And when you have a spouse who loves you, who respects you because you love and respect them, there's a margin that you make from week to week or month to month saying, look, I'm gonna try and hustle. I'm getting ready for a 15-hour day that I'm gonna do 9 to 5. I'm not gonna be able to do this and this and this as much, but I'm gonna do this because I feel like this is what I need to do. If that is in unison for your family, you run for that. And for as long as your thoroughbred heart beats for that, you keep on knocking. But there are triggers of success, triggers of wait, pause, triggers of failure. At the trigger of failure, do you then go to an editor and say, what do you think I should do? No, your heart first will say eventually, let's wait, let's delay it. You know how timing is important.
Yeah.
Understanding and embracing that the timing and a closed door doesn't mean it's not going to open again, but really your spirit and your connection. I think the key attitude is being present and being honest. And when you're a humble person who can humbly say you're a humble person, you have no greed, ego, need to prove nothing to nobody, and you honestly look at yourself and say, okay, this is who I am, this is what I have. No point in wishing this, wishing that. This is what I'm going to do to my best ability. I actually feel like I have a unique edge on any other person only because, again, of the struggle. The struggle we're in before anybody leaves the room. So I became almost like an operator at age 7 or 8, reading body language before someone moves out of the room, please, can you get me a glass of water, put a straw, and me remembering, wait a second, how do I do this? So I've been forced to figure it out and not to depend on someone else or something else. How can I figure it out and approach it from different angles? So when you have an attitude that approaches adversity, that is quite resilient, a resilient approach to adversity helps you to look at something and say, okay, these are the first 3 reasons why it seems extremely difficult. Einstein said, genius is when you're obsessed with impossible. And when you look at impossible, that's when you become fearless. And when you're fearless and you have the attitude and approach of any adversity, it doesn't mean you don't at least get a flavor on the tip of your tongue of panic or numbness in your mind. You go through, everyone's human, but quickly you say, wait a second, what about 4, 5, 6? What if I did this? What if I did that? I would say reframing adversity. It's not a bad thing. It's not a barrier. It's a challenge. And people see me as strong. Anybody who's gone through adversity is strong. Why? Because you know what they've been through. If I am stronger because of what I've been through, if you will, more embrace the challenge today. Being present, honest, and giving yourself a shot. Sometimes we are the ones, Ed, that never gives ourselves a shot. There are so many people who want to be successful, who want to be entrepreneurs, who get all the mechanics of if you're a realtor, if you're this, if you're that, this is body language, eye contact, da, 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 all the mechanics, all the science. It wasn't hard for me to work on that. What you just said, no one else has brought up. You're the first one. And here is why. It's because when people judged me for how I looked, and they wouldn't even look me in the eye to see my soul. And when you know that I could tease someone else because of how they look, but I don't want to judge them. I want to look them in their eyes, appreciate them for who they are. And instead of being, I can't, be involved in a sports activity, it's an elimination dodgeball thing or something like that, I had to sit out sometimes. I'm waiting for the first person who feels like, oh my gosh, I am the worst kid at school today because I'm known today as the one who was first eliminated. And I look at them, hey, good job, better luck next time. And we start talking, because I knew how much talking and opening up to someone helped me. I know how people judged me, and then how I in turn judge myself. So I tried to unchain people's own personal judgment, which again is just an attitude shift. I just want you to know that when you go through adversity, I want you to know to hold on. I want you to know, despite what you see, despite what you feel, despite what you know, you're here for a good reason. And it doesn't mean that all of life is good, but you're here through a good purpose. And you're like, well, wait a second, how could anything good come out of my life? Nick, I got this, I got that. Well, first of all, I'm not comparing my pain to you, but I have no arms and legs. And I had a choice to either be thankful for what I had, do my best, and take one day at a time, or give up. And the smile that you see is real. The strength that you see in my eyes is real. And not because I'm selling you anything, because I love you and I believe in you. Don't give up. Keep going. If you need counseling, go get counseling. Maybe one of the things that you need to do to get out of a depression is also maybe going to help someone else in need that maybe cannot even thank you for that. And that then instigate purpose, because to get out of depression or a funk that we're in, the one thing that I'm going to leave you with is when you actually take the focus of what you're going through, not because you don't love yourself and not because of what you're going through is bad, but when you step out of that and say, okay, how can I go and help someone else, feed a homeless person, be part of a non-profit and serve over the weekend? When someone looks at you who is in need and you help them fulfill that need, subconsciously and consciously, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, it is an affirmation of little steps to build back your self-confidence to get ready to say, I can do this. I am someone. So despite what you see, feel, and know, you can have forward thinking with a shift of attitude and action.